one judge that's managing it, or is it several judges you've got?
I don't think I have one judge managing it.
Sometimes they try and streamline it and have one judge. Okay, anyway, so I provide the information. It's a bit, when you say it's a bit like a pizza pie, it's that one of the pieces of information, obviously the judge gets information from you in the form of affidavit, the information will get information from Gregory in the form of his affidavits. It'll get information from counsel for the child in terms of her reports and other pieces of information or people that she calls. In the case, I don't know whether this will or will not go to a hearing. I have to be clear about who I've spoken to and when I've spoken to them and how I've spoken to them. So the conversations that we have are not confidential.
Yep.
And the reason they're not confidential is obviously I need to say who I spoke to, where, and what occurred. And I have to write notes because I haven't got nobody has a memory that can remember all of the things. And always within notes, there's an element of bits that are missed, and that is just part of the fallibility of humans writing notes. So it's just part of the downside of note taking. So what I will be doing is writing notes, obviously. I'm not doing a recording of this call. I understand that you're also not doing a recording of this call?
No.
Okay, so you're comfortable that it's not confidential because I have to be able to talk to and say who I spoke to?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay. And you're comfortable. I also would probably have to discuss some of the same issues that you may bring up. I also have to discuss with Gregory simply because I need to get his perspective on them. So that's also the issues that you raise and the issues he raised. I may have to discuss them across both of you. And the purpose of that is to get clarification about issues relating to the children, not to do with trying to stir anything up, or it isn't my job to determine who's telling the truth. So the judge is the person who's the determiner of truth. And how that happens is when I've done my report, and it's done obviously through interviews, through doing some questionnaires, it can be done through observations, and I hope we get to that stage to be able to do those. I write a report and it goes to the court, and then it is cross-examined in a hearing, and that would be where pieces of information that people don't agree on get challenged, and your lawyer would challenge, or you would challenge me if you're representing yourself, your ex would challenge me or his lawyer, counsel for child will also challenge pieces of information I have said, and the judge will ask questions and challenge, and then only at the end of that process called cross-examination does the judge decide what has reached the threshold of truth, in fact, and what has fallen below that, or he has other information that is, he thinks is a better explanation, or she thinks is a better explanation. So are you clear that I don't get into the his and hers, who said what against who, and it's not my job to determine if one person's telling the truth or lying. Are you okay about that?
Perfectly, it's good.
Yeah, okay. I've got copies of your affidavits, and I'm not sure, have you put anything else new? The last ones I've got, when there have been, hang on, I'll just look at the date on the start of them. June, I've got one from Gregory in answer to your one. And the last one of yours I've got is the 28th of June. Have there been any others?
What was that one in answer to Gregory?
Hang on, let's have a look. Let's start it off. Hang on, sorry, I might have got them around the wrong way then. Your one was in response. I've done it said it around the wrong way. Yours is in response. Yours is June 2013 in response to Gregory's video one.
Yep, that would have been the last one, yeah.
Okay, so he's since put one on the 28th of June, but I don't think there's one in reply to that from you. Am I right on that? doing. And I will ask you for some names of people that know you and your parenting that would be useful for me to also talk to get information about your relationship with your children. And I will ask Gregory the same thing if there are people that he knows. And it's like a circle. There are the people that you have that are close, which might be family members and friends, but as you go out, there are people that may be like, I don't know, they might be counsellors or doctors or teachers that know you well with your children that you may think would be able to provide good and useful information about your parenting. I don't know, have you anyone that comes to mind at the moment? Would you want to have a wee think about that?
We'll have a wee think about it and make a wee list if you like.
It will be with their contact numbers. I don't necessarily contact them all, but I will contact at least one from that list. And again, the information tends to be more objective when it's further out from teachers or counsellors or that like, rather than from family and friends, because usually family and friends fall alongside the parties around their positions.
I've had like nannies and stuff with that.
Yeah, that could be useful. How long back are we talking?
Well, there's currently, I've had 3 or 4 nannies in.
Over recent.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That would.
At the moment with my husband still in New Zealand at the moment.
Oh, okay. Right.
I have qualifications in child psychology anyway.
Yeah, but this is a separate sort of thing. I'll ask you about your insights about the children and your relationship and their father's relationship with them. This piece of information, contacting third-party people, is really collateral information. So what we try and do is get information from several sources. So we're not reliant on one piece or one sort of information. And all of the sorts of information has, again, its strengths and it has its weaknesses. So that's why we try and get different sorts of information and to present those to the judge. And sometimes there's a pattern and sometimes there's not a pattern that's evident in the information that's given. Okay, so once the report is done, it's obviously written form, it gets submitted to the court, and then I'm not allowed to have any contact with either yourself or with Gregory from then on.
Yeah.
And the court is the owner of the report. I'm not free to distribute it.
Yeah.
They will tell you how you get access to it. On a very few occasions, sometimes they withhold pieces of information. A judge may choose to withhold a piece of information from the court. Well, that would be very occasional, very rare, and in the high risk circumstances where a child, for example, safety was in jeopardy if that piece of information was released to a party. But typically, they usually release most of the reports. I would need to work out with you. I mean, this is, I don't know your patterns of coming and going, how often you're in New Zealand. Can you give me some idea of what your plans are over the next month?
I won't be in New Zealand over the next month. Because your report's due on November 20th, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah, see, I'm not back until November. I have a conference to be at in Auckland, November 28th, so...
You're not back till November 28th. That's the soonest you can come back.
Yes.
Okay. What I thought, I don't know if you got the, and I'm assuming you have had the memorandum that's been approved, what the report is about. Have you had a copy of that?
No, I don't think I have. I think it was just what was written, what Siobhan McNulty had written anyway in a lawyer child report, so...
Yes, it's been approved, I understand, as that brief. And so what it's asked about is for me to look at, and am I saying the name right? Mika, is that right?
Miqua.
Miqua, sorry, thanks for that. Miqua, okay. What it's asked me about is Miqua's developmental status and her developmental needs. And what is meant by that, and you'll be familiar with that, is looking at her development across the range of domains. So typically I'll be looking at whether she has any medical, physical issues, whether there are any health issues, what her temperament, personality is like, what are the strengths and weaknesses of you're aware of children and their parents that can clash, or teachers and their children can clash. And I'm going to be looking at her cognitive development, so looking for information from the school and other sources, and about whether she's developing with her learning and her education typically, or are there areas of strength again or weaknesses that need to be addressed. Looking at her social and emotional development, so and she's 11 now, isn't she? 11. Yeah. For an 11-year-old, what are the things that an 11-year-old should be doing in terms of social and emotional development, and how is she going on those milestones? And if there are any patterns, again, strengths or weaknesses, risks for her with that. Looking at her relationships, her attachment relationships. So and by that I mean the relationships, the fundamental ones that she has developed with, are typically parents, or it may be a very close caregiver or relative as well, or maybe a step-parent that support her to feel safe and protected, and provide her with a foundation on which she can develop other relationships, and has already at 11 years of age. So I will be looking at that. I then will do a summary of her developmental status, and whether it is positive across those factors in general broad terms, or whether there are some risks with her developmental status that need to be addressed. And then I've been asked to look at how her needs are currently being met by each of you with regard to the current care arrangements. So how do they match meeting those needs? I mean, and clearly you're having no input in it at all, I'm assuming.
I haven't had any contact with Mikwa coming up to almost a year now, because they refused to allow me to talk to her.
Okay. And then they're going to ask me about I'm going to need to interview Mikwa to find out what her views are about contact with you and contact with her brother. And I'm going to have the next question is whether either parent has, in words or conduct, influenced Mikwa's views, and whether there are other influences that are impacting on her views is the next question. The next one is the psychological advantages and disadvantages of Mikwa not having contact with you, her brother, and other members of your household. And then it has asked me what care and contact arrangements would meet Mikwa's psychological needs. And I'm permitted, because I'm a psychologist, to make comment about children's psychological needs, their family functioning, and issues to do with conflict, domestic violence, areas of abuse, if they're relevant to any children's issues in their family. I'm not, it's psychological recommendations or psychological summaries, it's not a legal one. So the judge will hold onto that, and I certainly won't cross over into his or her territory on making any recommendations. This is simply in terms of if there's a match, what care and contact arrangements are suiting her or need to be altered to meet her psychological needs. And then the next question is asked about therapeutic intervention for Mikwa, given her particular circumstances. And there's been a final note on there about consideration given to Tyrell, but I have not got, I don't think, any information on whether they have considered including him in the report at all. So
I think it's just really about Mikwa. I
don't think it is Tyrell. Do you think it is?
No, I think you'll find it's just mainly about Mikwa.
Yeah, that's what I understood from reading the material. But I can always check if we've got any concerns about that. So are you comfortable about that as the brief?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I will be doing the same process with Mikwa's father, Gregory, and going through what the report is about, setting up some times with him to talk about some of the issues. And I'll be doing with you. So I'm not sure about timing. I mean, obviously, if it gets to the stage where I'm going to need to see you with Mikwa, you're telling me that's going to have to wait till after the 28th of November.
Oh, well, for Mikwa, I could arrange something sooner.
Right.
Pretty important.
So how much notice do you actually need, Wendy? Because ideally I would hope to be able to see you both together. I haven't spoken to Mick, I'm not clear about what the issues are.
Well, Greg won't allow me to see her, so I'm not sure how you're going to get around that one.
In the case that one of the parties won't allow the report writer to see the child with the other parent, what I do, I'm not going to go get into any argument with them about it. I've been asked to do this report. Part of that report is to actually see you with Miku in order to make the observations that are required. Now, obviously I don't go and grab and drag kids to places to see a parent, and it will depend on her response or reaction. But if this is something I would expect them to be able to support her to come in, unless there's some extreme reasons why she doesn't want to come, and they are those reasons I would put to the judge to make a decision about whether the next step happens or not. So if it gets to the point where
alienated, unfortunately.
Okay. So if it gets to the point that he says no, and I think whether I can't see it, well, I'm not sure because I don't know at this point in time, I will write to the judge and get him or her to make a decision about whether that observed contact goes ahead. Okay?
Okay.
All right. If we could make a timetable, Wendy, about, I've done quite a bit of talking. Is there some things that you want to raise with me first so that we get those in the plan as well?
No, at this stage.
Okay, obviously you know I'm a psychologist, and by that means I'm a registered health professional, I'm registered with the psychological board. In the case of, and it would be very rare that I would find that people agree with everything that's written in the report. Usually people will disagree about certain aspects of it. And the process for disagreements and airing those differences is through cross-examination and a hearing. So that's what the design of that is, that that information is tested, and if it's found short, then it's tossed out, and if it reaches the judge's bar, then it's put forward as fact into the court file. So the judge does the testing of information around truthfulness. If there's issues with the process, and it's obviously not ideal that we're doing this by Skype, and ideally it's good for us to be able to sit down and talk face to face. Realising you're not here at the moment, it's very difficult to delay it further if we were going to wait for your feedback from your input. So there will be some parts of this report I can do without you being here, but obviously there are some parts I cannot do until you're in the country. But I need to do some other bits around meeting Mikwa and meeting with her dad, and we'll see how those pieces come together with the time to meet with you and Mikwa. Right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I'm just thinking through. In terms of timing and for us to talk again, I'm not sure about what your setup over in Sydney is, and I'm aware you've got another a little child. Is it a little boy? Is it?
Oh, a little girl. Oh no, she's in New Zealand with my husband at the moment.
Right. Okay. So, are you moving? Do you go backwards and forwards, or are you moving permanently to Sydney?
My husband's moving permanently over here, so at the end of November.
Right. And so does that mean that you will stay there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And are the court aware that that's what your plan is to relocate permanently? I know you've got permission to relocate Terrell, but are they aware that that's what your plan would be, to relocate with Mikwa if the judge made a decision that she was to come into? Yeah.
Yes, I think yes, I've put that somewhere in there.
Put that somewhere in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. What would probably useful for me then is to work out some times, and possibly if you could give me 2 times where we could talk in the next week and start these interviews that I need around Mikwa and issues and things that I was what would be a suitable time for you? I'm looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, where are you?
Oh, I can do any time this week. I'll just get my diary. What day? Your time, is that too early?
No, 9 o'clock's absolutely fine for me. So this is the 23rd. Hang on. Yep. At 9 o'clock.
Yeah, your time, yeah.
9. Okay. That's absolutely fine. Now, can you leave about an hour and a half? Is that all right?
Yes.
All right. And if we get, I mean, I don't know how you go. Sometimes I just feel after a period of time that we just run out of energy. And so we can break that. We don't, maybe if you just leave an hour and a half space, we may only use, say, 3/4 of an hour and come back and do it after a break or so.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So I put from 9 o'clock through 10:30 I've blocked out for you, and we can call on, I'll call you on, or you can call me. All right?
That's good as well.
Okay. Excellent. Give us, if I could get you to give us, have you got, are you able to sign the consents for me that I sent over with the report explanation?
Yes.
Have you got scanning facilities over there?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Can you scan them and send them back to me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And could you give some thought to maybe some people that would know you in your parenting that would know, could provide information for me?
Would you want to talk to my husband as well?
I think that's very important. Now, his name is?
Shane.
Yes. And his surname is?
Bartlett. Bartlett.
Okay. And how will I get hold of him?
I think, have you got the 033036267 number?
03302
303
303
6267.
Okay, and I think that's the one I ran. So, yes, I have got their number. So he's,
The best time to ring him is between 12:30 and 1:30 when he goes home for lunch.
okay. If you can let him know I'm going to try and get hold of him.
Yeah, I will. You tell me when you think you'll want to get hold of him and I'll let him know and he can be there.
Okay, well, can I try him today just to set up a time with him? Because I'm actually going down to that area so I could actually meet with him face to face. Alright?
Okay, I'll try to get hold of him.
You can't hold him, that's fine, I'll just try. Okay, I'll just put out this right. Okay, right. The other thing I was going to say, so we're going to be talking about next time, we're going to be talking about, what sort of young girl Mika is, the things that she's good at and things that she isn't. If you've got information relating to her health, any reports from other professionals.
She had epilepsy.
Right, and that's been diagnosed by a neurologist. Am I correct on that?
Yes. There's Shane will actually have all the medical reports on it if you want to see them, but it was the type of epilepsy that she would just go blank. I can't remember quite what it was called, but she's basically grown out of it now anyway.
Right, okay.
She was on Epilim for a couple of years, Epilim medication, but she hasn't had any seizures for quite a long time now, and the neurologist did say that they would have hoped that she grew out of it, and she did.
Right.
I can get you his name and contact details if you want them.
Right. And has she got any other medical health conditions that you're aware of?
No, just the epilepsy was the major one.
Right. Was she seeing any other professionals when you last got involved with her, or are you aware of her seeing any other counsellors, physios, any of the like of that?
Not that I know, no. Not while she was with me.
Not while she was with you. Okay. And she hasn't had any remedial education, any specialists involved with education that have needed to.
Not while she's in my care.
Yeah, okay. And so the nannies that you're talking about are nannies that care for.
Oh well, we only had when she was last with us. We had one of the nannies had started.
Right.
But the nanny that we have at the moment doesn't know Mikwa. But
right.
I mean, if you want to get that parenting style, depends on whether you want the parenting style between me and Mikwa, or do you want the parenting style of me with all my children?
Well, we're talking about Mikwa in this case, so it'll be in relationship with Mikwa. So if you have able to track or find out the name of the previous one and get that to me, that would contact details, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. The other suggestion I would say, often people get off to the phone or get away from discussions and they think, oh, I should have said such and such, is to make a list of the things that you may want to raise or bring up, so they're just notes, jot them down so that it guides, gives you, and there'll be some things that I'm sure that I'll need to come back on with you that I want to ask something more, get some more detail on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Wendy, for making yourself available, and I will talk to you on Wednesday at New Zealand time, 9 o'clock.
That's good as gold.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.